Welcome back to Retire Southern, where we share authentic experiences and meaningful connections from the heart of the American South. Our message is simple. Life's too short to wait for someday, so don't wait for retirement to start living. I'm your host, James Lewis. Today's guest is one of the South's most respected culinary artisans. He took a leap from the corporate world into the kitchen, trained at Le Cordon Bleu, apprenticed at the French Laundry, and returned home to Atlanta to open what will become one of the country's most celebrated charcuterie houses, the Spotted Trotter. His story is about good meat, great balance, and building something that honors tradition while pushing boundaries. Kevin Ouzts, welcome to the Retire Southern podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So we're in the Kirkwood neighborhood.
That's it.
Of the ATL. How long have you been here?
About 15 years.
You love it?
I do. There's a lot of history. It was kind of the sleeper of the Atlanta community, but now it's having its day in the sunshine.
So you have an interesting path to what you're doing today. We could go down some serious rabbit holes here, but I guess where I'll start is because it just seems like a total 180 to me. You said when you were attending UGA, which is its own story in and of itself, you were working for UPS to get you through school.
Yep.
What did Brown do for you?
Oh, Brown did a lot for me. I learned the valuable intensity and lesson of what you'll, for the late 2000s and up until about now, learning Excel spreadsheets.
Okay.
So
how are you at Excel?
I'm a whip. I can move some cells around.
Macro pivot tables,
the whole thing. Okay. That was one of, I would walk away saying that was probably one of the best things Brown did for me. But learning also, just about how products are moving through our country, and then to now be in the service industry where we're moving products across the nation, it's been pretty invaluable.
So was your corporate experience going from UPS to Home Depot, was it all logistics related or?
No, I was in operations management at UPS. I was the highest at that office in Athens. Not the highest, I'm sorry, but was in a management role. Did not perform anything in the function of what I graduated with, which was a telecom degree.
Telecom degree.
Yeah. And so I thought I should, since I spent 5 years getting a degree, maybe I should try to do something, in what I got the degree in. So I was applying in those roles and landed a job in advertising with Home Depot.
So what was the turning point from corporate to culinary?
After I left, I was working in Home Depot and landed underneath she was pretty maniacal woman that basically was not...
a bad boss?
A bad boss.
I've never had one of those.
We'll just say that. Had a bad boss experience and walked away from Home Depot and then got a job. I thought, let's try to do something where you can make more money. And obviously sales is always something you can poke at. And so I got a job with selling Microsoft licensing. And I came home one day and my wife's like, "You are absolutely miserable. Life is abysmal. You're not coming home with a smile on your face. What do you want to do?" And I said, I'd like to make the go at cooking for a living. Mm-hmm. And that basically was what launched me into... I remember when I finally decided, I was still at work and I was like looking out the window, like thinking about my next steps, and came in the next day and put my 2 weeks in and was like, "Thank you. This has been wonderful." After training, you guys flew me to Dallas to do this training and stuff, and just came back and said, "It's time to go." And then, put my head down. I was very accelerated at Cordon Bleu. I started the first slow food convivia, just really tried to take a long look at the history of what I knew about food and kind of looking at our current food system at the time and diving in with everything that I had. Mm-hmm. And I really was working for some great chefs in Atlanta at the time. And then ultimately what got me into, really truly understanding the most paramount and important piece of our food system is knowing where your food comes from. Mm-hmm. And I remember it today, Elizabeth Moore from Green Olive Media did a Q&A with me. My wife was like, "You should go just talk to her, see what she does." And she gave me a DVD of Linton Hopkins' media packet. She said, "Don't tell him I gave this to you." She gave it to me. I watched it, and listening to that man talk about and his understanding of food it changed my life. Mm-hmm. He came out a cancer survivor and basically really discussing and understanding the nuances of localism, knowing the nutrition value of food, and the esoteric nature of where we could get our true blessings is from our local community. And we stopped doing that at some point in time in the last 200 years. We stopped looking at understanding where our food was. And so doing that really put me in the pinnacle of the right time in our country to start, getting on that wave, because people were getting very much into sustainability. He had just opened the farmers market at Peachtree Road in Buckhead, and it was very impactful for me.
So let's take a step back. Going from Le Cordon Bleu, your first apprenticeship was at French Laundry.
Yep.
And then you went from there to the Fatted Calf.
Yes.
And then back to Atlanta.
Came back to Atlanta.
After that. You had a really interesting story about your first day at French Laundry, or what happened before your first day at French Laundry. Can you share that?
Yeah. So my wife and I decided to make the haul, and we tried to make it fun. So we took the drive out to California from Atlanta, and it was a really fun trip. Something we look at and say, hey, let's get in the car and do this right. So we would camp one day, stay in a hotel the next day, and kind of drag it out. So we planned it out that way. Let me back up, though. Before we had this trip, what my wife likes to joke about how I landed the internship at the French Laundry, we had gone out about 6 months earlier, and we were out there visiting a friend, and basically went to the French Laundry to eat. And we had this fantastic experience, truly one of the most incredible dining experiences. And the bill comes, and my wife and I, just ignorant as can be, we tipped on top of the total. Mm-hmm. So they say she likes to joke and say, that's how you got the internship, because you tipped on the total. Anyway, so we get in the car, we make the trip, and it's just fascinating. We visit all the, exploratory places, and then the fun spots you think about. We went to Big Bend National Park and then Grand Canyon, and just tried to visit as many cool things as we could. Well, then we got in the car. I'm staying with a buddy in San Francisco, and at the time, he was living in a neighborhood right above the Tenderloin. If you know anything about San Francisco, the Tenderloin it's pretty rough and tumble. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, "There's this saying that bums don't climb," or something like that. I don't know what it is, but basically, it's what it says, that because this neighborhood is on a hill, ultimately they're not going to want to climb up to break into cars or your house or whatever. And so I found a parking spot, and I was only staying with him for a few nights. And the last night I was staying there, woke up the next morning to drive to Napa, woke up, went down and walked down to my car, and everything was gone. I had a brand new Nikon, beautiful knives that I had been passed down from my grandfather, all stolen, just smashed.
Right before your first
And I was starting that internship the very next day.
Wow.
So I had to, hustle and run and get up to Napa and find a culinary shop. And of course, they're all bougie, like, here's a Mac knife for, $600 or whatever. So I bought 2 knives. I bought a chef's knife and a little paring knife. And I was like, that's what I can do right now. That's what I got to do to go. So that was the impetus of that relationship. But working in that environment was pretty special.
So what are some of your favorite memories or takeaways from working at the French Laundry and the Fatted Calf? Those are both spectacular.
Yeah, we talked earlier before everything started about being raised by someone from West Point and knowing the critical understanding of finishing. Mm-hmm. So I went to the French Laundry at a very late stage in my life. Had I been 18 to 22, 23, probably pretty good. But I was there to learn to cook. And so I was pretty demoralized, and not for any other reason, but because I wanted to be in the kitchen and I wanted to be hard pressed against making a lot of food. And it didn't pan out that way, and for no other reason, but there's just a lot of people. So I looked around the kitchen at one point in time, there's probably 21 guys and girls in the kitchen, 15 or 16 of them aren't getting paid, and I was one of them. So I thought, I don't know that this is this is what I really truly am here to do. So I called my father-in-law, who went to West Point, and I said, I'm having a real struggle with this. And I had some really great experiences, don't get me wrong. I was there long enough to experience all the great things about that community, and really it changed my life in thoughts of how you think about food. We talked a little bit earlier, but the geography, Northern California, just by and large, it grows some of the most beautiful food in the world. But the French Laundry was such a place where you've got basically the treasure of the garden across the street, grows all these very unique, esoteric vegetables and fruits. And then there's a place called the Thompson Family Farm behind, and you get to work on the farm as part of your externship. And the level of detail, and what truly was demoralizing to me, is that you can make that level of detail in your food, but it takes that many people to do that. Right. And so thinking about going back to Atlanta, trying to execute that type of menu, I just like, man, this is not, it's not realistic. Mm-hmm. And that's why there's only one French Laundry. So I love that intimacy to food and how you're able to do it, but to truly do it across the landscape of America would be very difficult to do. I'm not saying it can't be done. Yeah. But at the time, right before I left to go to Atlanta, I got bitten by the bug of making charcuterie by a fantastic chef, probably one of the best chefs in Atlanta. His name's Ryan Smith, and ultimately making some of the most unique cuisine in the world. And he kind of dialed me into making charcuterie. We helped open H&F, and for what it is and what it could be, I went out there with kind of a mission. I wanted to learn as much about food as I possibly could.
Right.
And so I went into the Fatted Calf one day. I had to ride my bike. I had to be up at basically 4 a.m, rode my bike from Yountville to Napa Valley, and I would pass the Fatted Calf. And I went in one day and I said, Taylor, can I learn from you? He said, dude, I'll teach you everything I know. He said, with a caveat, he said, just don't open a shop in Napa Valley. Okay. And I thought,
That's fair.
So that kind of lands, that seed was planted. And then I went to go do a pig cooking with Taylor at Robert Mondavi's house. So we roll up through the hills, we stop for gas, and I asked him how he got started. And he said, I was selling at the farmer's market at the Ferry Building out in San Francisco every weekend. And I think they still do it today. I'm not sure. That's when it struck me, because Linton Hopkins, my mentor, had just opened the farmer's market in Buckhead. So I thought, I can go back to Atlanta and do this. This is something I can do. Right. And going back to what, talking to my father-in-law, I was like, I need to jump ship French Laundry and do this full time.
Okay, so that was the epiphany.
Yeah, that was it.
So talk about the early days, Spotted Trotter, 2009, the farmer's market. What are some of your memories of those early days? What stands out to you? And when did you realize this is going to work?
Well, the opportunity of coming back, and I mentioned to you earlier, right before we got open, I came back and I broke my leg.
That's right.
So we had decided that we were going to do it. And
you have all these little mishaps before you start something, it seems.
So I broke my leg, and basically, in order to make meat in the United States, you're either working with your state-regulated Department of Agriculture, or you're working with the USDA. So the State Department of Ag in Georgia, you have to have HACCP plan. So HACCP is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Plan. It's basically the plan that was invented in the 1930s by NASA. So if they're taking food, they have to make sure that every angle of that food supply is safe and secure. So they implemented that into the USDA meat products.
Interesting. Okay.
So I had to write that program. Knew nothing about it, had no business in it, but my leg had just broken, and so I had no excuse at that point. Right?
Got some time on your hands.
Yep. So I was sitting behind a computer, just punching keys, trying to get it done, asking who I could. My wife being an attorney, she was very dialed into, just keeping things very detailed. And so we got them written. I wrote 2 or 3 HACCP plans at the time, took them to the Department of Ag in Georgia, but they were only for fresh sausage, cured meats, bacon. We talked nothing about salami and charcuterie at that point.
Okay.
So even though it was called Spotted Trotter charcuterie embodies all of that. French charcuterie can be anything from pâtés, terrines, sausages, cured meats, whole muscle, all of that. So it's a pretty wide net, but it's a very high barrier of entry. So if you're trying to get into the game, you really have to know what you're doing, how it's been done, and make sure that you have the economics dialed in. So I had a relationship with a chef here in Atlanta called Lynn Sawicki. She had a little small shop in Decatur, Georgia called Sawicki's, and it was literally 10 by 10 square feet of kitchen space. She said, sure, I'll rent it to you. And the Department of Ag said, you can do it, but you have to be done by the time she opens. So basically, she gave me the key. I would start at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I have to be out of there by 9:30, 10. Those hours stretched, and they got mended and molded, over a period of time. And finally, the relationship came to the pass. And she was like, "You got to get out of here." So I was there for about 8 months. In that time, I was making about 1,000 pounds of meat a week by myself.
Okay, in her shop.
In her shop.
Wow.
So I was taking over more and more kitchen space.
Where's this meat being stored?
Yeah, exactly. So she had a walk-in the size of it was a small refrigerator, and I basically have occupied all the space I can. I finally got my first employee, and she's like, "What? Now you're gonna have more employees?" And she's like, "This is getting a little more than I bargained for." But it was great for us because we didn't have to get a bricks and mortar. All the while, I was driving around the city delivering my products, constantly looking for space. Where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? And the street I live on has a little strip mall. And when we go, you'll see it, and I'll point it out to you. But basically, it's essentially 1,200 square feet. I was like, this is the spot. We're going to get it. We signed a lease, and it's a strip mall. So we got that lease. Year and a half later, we got Suite B. About 8 months later, we got Suite C. Okay. All told, it was only 2,200 square feet. In the end, James, we were doing... for 10 years, we were making over 5,000 pounds of meat in a 2,200 square foot kitchen.
Wow.
I mean, bro, it was like nuts.
That's
and
crazy.
we were doing that, barrels stacked to the ceiling. I mean, our team was just incredible to put up with it. I, pay a lot of respect and a lot of admiration for the people that were able to get us through that.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here without those people, and they helped. And I have one of them still with me today. But it was a true journey. And when my wife and I started, we would be the ones going to the farmer's market. So my wife worked a full-time job as an attorney, Monday through Friday, and
So this is Megan.
This is Megan.
So we need to pay a little respect to Megan and all this.
Absolutely.
So let's give her a shout out. So you and Megan are working Cathedral Corners Farmers Market together.
Yep. Peachtree Road Farmers Market. Dude, it was rough and tumble because I was packaging all the stuff. She was putting the labels on. She was doing all the money. And we started the business 50-50. That's when we opened the LLC. When it opened in 2009, we signed the papers. She owned 50%, I owned 50%.
Right.
She's been, the most important detailed person about finance. She has a business degree and a law degree. So it made sense. But, we're 16 years deep now, and it's time for her to focus on her life and job.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that later. But ultimately, we would, you asked what the fun things were, and some of the things that stand out. It was so cool. We'd go to this farmer's market. We'd be in this, we bought it was like a Comcast van that was like put to bed, and we bought that thing at like a used auction.
Yeah.
Bought that. We'd load everything, and dude, the intensity of a farmer's market, it's so much work.
Right.
And then you go there, and if you have a banging day, it's incredible. Like, it's incredible. You walk out, and it's all cash at the time. There'd be a lot of electronic sales.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is you walk out with, you got $1,800 to $2,000, $3,000 cash just holding it.
Right.
And it was just such a neat experience because you're there, you get to talk to all these customers week in and week out. But here's the ripper, dude. You go through the April rain of a state of Georgia.
Right.
Dude, there'd be weekends, like straight 2 or 3 in a row, where you'd saddle up and you'd be so gunning for reaping the return on investment from all that hard work you put in, and you couldn't sell a friggin' thing.
Not a thing.
Right? And so that's brutal. But you learn very quickly the ups and downs of it and what you're going to have to endure. And I was cut out for entrepreneurship.
So what do you do with a Comcast van full of smoked meat?
We go back and we sell it.
Okay.
We ultimately, the great thing about being in the
you
shop,
had the shop. So
being in the shop was we could, not try to, but we would sell it. And that was a really great benefit for us.
Sure.
But looking at, going a little bit further back, is that when I came back and had these relationships with all these great chefs in Atlanta, being able to go to them and pitch them and try to talk to them about the products and what we did at the time, James, and what truly, and this is probably, we're maybe jumping ahead a little bit, but
Sure.
What made our product uniquely different is that we started making salami.
Okay.
So
and that's where I want to go. So you bill yourself out as the new American Charcuterie. That's your signature. So what does that mean to you in practice? And I want to get into what are some of your more notable creations with that?
So after about 1.5, 2 years, we got into curing the meats in our area and in the building. And I looked around and I thought, this is really bizarre. Like, we're a 250-year-old country at this point. Mm-hmm. And salami and charcuterie, by and large, in the United States, that market space has been owned and operated by 2 countries, Spain and Italy. Mm-hmm. French a little bit. But you couldn't walk into a grocery store and not see a Genoa, Toscano, Finocchiona. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. Not a single person is celebrating the terroir and the uniqueness of our ingredient base in the United States. Nobody. This has to change, right? So coming from a chef's perspective, being as creative as I would like to say I am, we started messing with different ingredients and really started understanding and had some really cool, happy accidents. So just to get into a little bit of the principle of making the meat, you have to have a certain amount of sugar. Mm-hmm. So the first salami that was into our foray of making new American charcuterie was that instead of using beet sugar or corn sugar, which is a very neutral sugar, it just doesn't have any value at all, flavor. And I thought, let's use sorghum syrup, right? You're from the South. You understand and know what that syrup is. Well, the bacteria wakes up when it's in the salami and it gets in the mix, and then it starts to eat the sugar of the sorghum, but that beautiful sour is in there. The other cool thing, it's a cereal grain, right? So it's out in all these beautiful pastures. So the pH of that product drops the pH intrinsically. So that means that salami, and even though it's pork-based and has a lot of fat in it, would dry 2 weeks faster than anything else.
That's interesting.
So I'm like, and it has this exquisite flavor profile, just unbelievable. And right then I was like, we need to start dialing in. And coming back from my history with Linton, let's focus on what's growing around us, right? When you think about localism in food, right, and people don't think about it this way, it's better for us, right, because it's grown locally. It's better for our environment, you know, and socioeconomically, it's better. We're helping the economics of our nation, and when we think about how we're doing those things, rather than importing and bringing things in from another country, from a food perspective, when we think about nutrients and in providing those nutrients to our lives and sustaining our grandmothers or children, like localism has such a profound impact on our food system. And so my wife was like, let's go. We need to trademark this. And so we got the trademark for New American Charcuterie.
Awesome.
So we own the name, and I just went balls out. Like I basically was like looking to do as many unique things. Yeah. Not just for the thrill of it or just to say we did it, because it truly was a unique taste and flavor.
Right.
And you got to do it right. And my wife always jokes about chicken liver pate. We make the most incredible chicken liver pate. If you hand somebody something that they've never had before and it tastes like dog shit, they're never going to want to eat it again. Right. So you have a basically a fundamental, like, it's your job to make it taste right? Yeah. To make it taste something that's so good that they're like, I want to eat every kind of chicken liver pate, right? And be the gold standard. Yeah. And so we would R&D products, and we would start doing, like, we did something called the Southern Smash. It's got toasted peanut and long cayenne, and it's modeled after a French noisette. So we're still paying homage to these classic, you know, world-class makers of charcuterie in France. Obviously, charcuterie, the name is a French name, and the principle and understanding of a noisette is done with hazelnuts. But I thought, what's a nut that's really well known in Georgia? Peanut. It's the largest agricultural export in Georgia was the peanut.
Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Right. So, like, let's go.
Right.
So we toast the peanuts, you know, mash them up, and then we'd add this beautiful heirloom cayenne, and it was just boom, right?
Yeah. No, some of your products are so unique, like the blue cheese salami. I'll just tell you 2 words. What hooked me was duck prosciutto. Yeah. I have a group of friends, like we all do. You know, we get together every so often, once a month, every other month, and we like to cook, we like to smoke meats, we like to eat, we like to drink. Yes. And one of my buddies rolled up with your duck prosciutto, and I said, "What the hell is this?" Nice. And I tried to buy it, and I was hooked. So let's talk about some of those. You have some award-winning products from Good Food Awards. Talk about some of your winners and what you're most proud of there in that space.
Awesome. So yeah, really trying to focus on, and don't get me wrong, we make all the classics. We do a Finocchione, do a Genoa. Really quick funny story about Genoa. Like, my wife and we went to Italy. We won the Mondo del Gusto, or we won the opportunity to go work at the Mondo del Gusto for slow food. We were a slow food host at the Mondo del Gusto. The slow food every year picks chefs. We went out there. We went to Siena to a 160-year-old butcher shop, right? It has a cave underneath, right?
Like it. I like where this is going.
It's incredible, dude. And so you taste the salami you like, and they use this beautiful Senta Sinise pig. It's got this long snout, and basically this Genoa, I packed a whole bunch to bring back, like, you know, truffles, and they're like, you put them in your socks and whatever. So we get back, and then 5 or 6 years later, my wife buys a salami from there and gets it shipped to me for our anniversary. So we had already started making Genoa at the Spotted Trotter. It's a really cool thing. And so I was just testing my friends out, a couple cats that worked in food, and, you know, some really great chefs like Sean Doty. Sliced a piece of my Genoa, and then a piece of a, you know, over 100-year-old Genoa that this family's been making this product for, you know, several generations. And I was like, which one do you like better? Every time it was mine. I was like,
that's
yes.
Awesome. That's incredible.
I could walk out in traffic and get hit by a car. I was like, this is great. So I'm onto something. I'm doing something right? Yeah. So we make all these classics, and we still continue to do them. But I'm like, when you look at the market of the United States, like, it's very rare that you can come to market and do something that no one's ever done before. So that's the differentiator, right? That's the hook. I walk in years later to chefs and communities, and you know, we go to these food shows, and there'd be 6 people deep for 3 or 4 hours, because it truly is better. We use 100% organic garlic in everything we make. We make all of our own spice packs in-house. We buy whole spices, toast them to bring out the natural oils, and then we marinate them. The meat is truly the finest. It's the finest meat and livestock that you can get in the U.S. today. Yeah. And I think you can taste that, right? And that's what truly makes it different. I think the heritage of charcuterie has always been looked upon as something as like a cheap deli food. It wasn't ever put on the pedestal that it is now.
Yeah.
And for good reason, but now we're in a place where it should get the spotlight that it deserves.
Well, yeah, and it certainly is in the spotlight. In addition to food awards, I saw this was interesting to me. You've been named Invest Atlanta Entrepreneur of the Year, as well as you've earned the Snail of Approval for Slow Food Atlanta. So you have all these different recognitions, right? For food, for being an entrepreneur. How do you balance that recognition and still stay true to Kevin?
Well, I think
Ouzts?
the mission and value of using humanely sourced pasture meat has never changed. My wife and I, because we came from an industry that was basically tormented with bad food, our food supply over the last 67 years has been decimated. And so we drew a hard line in the sand and said, that's never changing for us. Okay. And so when you go into market and you have this standard, you can go up, but you can't start dropping and going down.
Yeah.
You got to keep it up and you got to keep going up. And so to balance it, it's very challenging. You got to go out to market. Like we started in Michigan 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. We had a black pepper sorghum salami. They didn't know what sorghum syrup was. So we had to change the name. So there's different variations of like what people understand and are used to. Like Chicago, they've been buying meat and making great meat for decades.
Forever. Yeah.
But then you go to them and you show them like here's a Hatch chili salami or Georgia Blue. They look at it with a turned head, but when they taste it and put it in their mouth, they're like, I'm hooked. Mm-hmm. So the balance of what we do, there's a lot of recipes that didn't make it to market. Mm-hmm. In fact, I've got over, a book of over 250 recipes, and you can't take them all to market. I learned the financial motto: you make 80% of your profits from 20% of what you make. Mm-hmm. And ultimately,
is that true? I mean,
yeah, we've been pulling and burning and dodging, trying to figure out what's going to sell the best over the last, but trying to stick to the roots, but keeping the balance. And the most important thing is just do it right.
Right.
Just do better.
Okay.
There's so many food makers in the United States that have absolutely decimated our food system. And BlackRock and the big boys, they're all making money from it. Mm-hmm. But you know who's dying? We all are dying. And I chose to make sure that we're doing it the right way. We're 100% uncured. We don't use any sodium nitrate. That took several years to get to. And we're the only charcuterie in the country right now where 100% of our portfolio is GAP certified. So GAP certification is Global Animal Partnership. It's the highest standard in food safety and quality for the animals available in the U.S. today. And that is super important. But when you think about balance, I'll tell you this. I learned a phrase long ago. It says, nothing in balance moves forward. You can't be in balance, James. I learned long ago it's a very, very dysfunctional thing to say. Is your life in balance? Fuck no, dude. You can't be in balance.
I'm going to steal that one from you.
Yeah. If you're in balance, you're sitting still, dude. You're either falling back or you're moving forward. And in business, you have to be moving forward.
So let's tilt this a little further out of balance because this is always a volatile topic, politics. Mm-hmm. You secured a USDA expansion grant.
Yep.
Talk about what's going on with that and how that's working present day versus previous day.
You're probably going to need another hour for this one.
Okay.
I'll tell you the high notes.
Sure.
We made a goal to basically open up a 15,000 square foot manufacturing facility because we knew that we going to need it to grow. And we went to market. We found a beautiful space. We leased the space. This was 2 years ago. My wife diligently went to work to get the grant written. We hired a grant writer for $10,000. We got the grant. It took them 11 months. That's why it took 2 years. It took them 11 months to get back to us. Finally got back to us, said we won the grant. And this was all post-COVID. After COVID hit, the USDA got real concerned because I don't know if you remember going to the grocery store and walking down the meat aisle and there was nothing there.
You could only go one way.
Yeah. So
I remember.
They got real scared and released $750 million in grant money. The first tranche, and that word is funny to me, but the first tranche of money was $250 million. We applied for it. It took a long time. We won it, and it would pay for 20% of our build-out. Roughly, our build-out was roughly $8.2 million. Mm-hmm. So that was going to cover, 1.6, 1.5 million, and we were very excited about it. But now that we had that 1.6, we had to find the gap funding. Well, that was in 23, and we went to go to all the banks, and they said, you need to get your EBITDA up. So we rough and tumbled, and we got our EBIT up in 24, almost 18%. And then we went to the bank, and I won't name the banks, but one in particular came to the table, and they said, we're ready to close the deal. We just need 2 weeks for underwriting. Well, that 2 weeks was the 2 weeks that Trump just landed in office. So we got absolutely...
Oh, wow.
So they told us no. Well, my wife being an attorney said, this isn't going to work because in the small and fine print, it says we're supposed to get 48 months to close the deal. You only gave us 36. So she filed for an appeal. And then you started looking around, I'll just call them Trumponomics of things in the United States. Was it really the right time to be borrowing $7 million? Just, you look like a smart man. I know you were an engineer before this, but does it seem like a smart time?
Probably not the best.
Yeah. So we thought the same.
Rates are coming down now, though. So
they are.
You might be in luck.
Right. Okay. So we looked around the table and we thought, this probably isn't the best move for us. Mm-hmm. Let's stay where we're at, keep profitable. And when I go show you where we're at, dude, it's going to blow your mind to see how much product we're putting out of this tiny little building. We're in a 7,000 square foot building. We didn't really talk about that, but ultimately getting into that space, we found it a year and a half before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So we got into that building. Rough and tumble, took you 6, 8, 10, 12 months to get used to it. And then boom, you're hit with the pandemic. It was crazy, dude. And so we're in there and basically just freaking out because at this time we're distributing. We had 3 distributors at the time.
Yes.
They're all like food service and retail. Food service is decimated. People aren't going to eat. We had to figure out how we're going to produce product.
Right.
So I had to find a co-packer. Here's a very big light bulb moment for the Spotted Trotter was that we looked around. There was not one. There's no co-packer in the Southeast. That means packaging, slicing and packaging for grocery, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought, this is something we can totally do. And that was what brought upon the opportunity to open a building. Okay. And so that was essentially, we were moving cases in that little building. You know, a year and a half, 2 years later, after the post-pandemic, we're now moving pallets. And this is such an interesting point because we just reached a milestone. We've always shipped LTL, which means less than load. Okay. It's less than a full 18-wheeler. Next Tuesday, the Spotted Trotter at 229 Moreland Avenue will be delivering 13 pallets of product out of our tiny little building. That's awesome. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And so you asked about scaling and getting to that place. It's been a long slog, but the USDA grant came to pass that we decided to let's hit the pause button. Okay. There's lots of little intricacies and stories I could tell about the whole thing, but it's just been a real rough tumble because my wife worked tirelessly to get there, right? And to tell you, I was cut out for entrepreneurship. She's a risk-averse attorney and does not like entrepreneurship, but has held the fort down and held it down for us for a very long time. And I love her for that.
Megan sounds like a fantastic woman.
Yeah, she's intense, dude. In a good way.
So holiday season is right around the corner. Yep. And so let's get into the meat of it, if you will. So your website is thespottedtrotter.com. My wife and I love to go to holiday parties. Yep. And one of the things that we always sign up for is the charcuterie board because we just like to come in and just wham. So I know what my secret weapon's going to be this year for the holidays. But if you could help me put together the ultimate charcuterie board to one-up all my friends, walk me through what's on that board and how do I get it? Yeah.
You talking about putting one together?
Yeah.
So I would say, and this always kind of, people get lost on this, but I had a fantastic young man that worked for us, and he was very talented in this regard. What we don't think about is that we eat with our eyes first. Right. And so if you go through the level of detail to really shingle the meat correctly, put it down with a lot of intent, make sure that, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but if you look at a shingle and if the spaces are off, but if you do it just so, and you make the space between each piece of meat, space really nice and tight, people will freak out.
I'm all about symmetry.
Symmetry, but they love it. Okay. Because it captures them, right? It brings them in, it makes them get excited about what they're about to put. We did something for a big paper, who's the big paper manufacturer?
Georgia Pacific.
Yeah, Georgia Pacific. We did a, I mean, it was as big as this table, dude. We did a big charcuterie board. Mm-hmm. People walked in, they wouldn't eat it. They wanted to take pictures of it. They're like, are we allowed to eat that? And I'm like, come on, dude. Like,
it's edible art.
Yeah. So like to make a board truly speak to you and your guests is variety, like if it's a small board, then try to have some things that aren't just salami, do salami and whole muscle, have a pate, something that I like organized confusion. Okay. And that principle of plating food has come to pass over the last 10 to 12, 15 years. And, people like Sean Brock they put something on the plate, and it was started like French Laundry and the guys like El Bulli. They started to make all these things with gastro, but putting something on the plate that looked finessefully like. And Linton Hopkins used to talk about it. He was like, it's like the leaves of a ginkgo biloba tree falling on the plate. But you look at it in all these natural settings, but like when you put a charcuterie board together, I like to have the organization of the shingles and then have, an outlay of like crumbled blue cheese, something that sort of pulls you in. You get excited. You're psychologically, we're drawn in through it's almost like pixelation, right? We want to look at the space between the salami, and it brings you in, and then you see all these, and that's, when you think about art, to me, that's the thing that brings me in the most.
I love how you start with presentation.
Yeah.
You didn't name a single product.
No.
And that's totally fine. So what are some of your best sellers when it comes to the charcuterie space?
So,
whether it's Cathedral Corner or people ordering online.
Yeah, so our Brezola is just a standout
Brezola. Classic.
I mean, it's a over 1,000-year-old charcuterie, but it used to be made in it was a humble beginning because it was started as peasant food. It was basically like they would take the cuts that weren't being used, it's typically the eye round. They would put a bunch of salt on it, and that was it. Mm-hmm. Maybe throw some rosemary in. This is in Italy years and years ago. And then I thought about, decades later, centuries later, we're making this charcuterie. And I'm like, we got to do better. I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I started humming and hawing, and we decided to make this beautiful Italian mash. And it's got carrots, celery, onions, rosemary, red wine. We put that eye round and we let it sit in there for 10 days.
Okay.
And then we ferment all of our salami and meats for 72 hours. The 72 hours allows that intense fermentation to happen, right? That true sour. If you're eating salami that doesn't have a nuance of sour, then it's not truly salami because it wasn't fermented properly. Mm-hmm. So it should always be one of the notes that you taste in our meats is the fermentation. Beautiful white mold, and ultimately it's sliced razor thin, but it tastes like friggin' like short rib, like braised short rib. I mean, it's so intensely flavored, but you get that flavor from all that wonderful bounty of vegetal matter that's in that mash.
And the mash.
Yeah. And so I would say our Brezola duck prosciutto is definitely a hitter because it looks so pretty on the board.
That's a banger.
We've got some really beautiful stuff that just happened. We partnered with a beautiful pepper pickler out in Oregon. It's called Mama Lil's Pepper, and if you guys haven't had it, check them out.
Okay.
I was at a food show 2 years ago, and I tasted it. I was like, this is crazy. Someone's not using this. And so we brought it back, and that's the inherent thing about the Spotted Trotters. I want to partner with makers making incredible ingredients and just putting them on a pedestal. Like all their logos are on our packaging, but we wouldn't be able to make this beautiful stuff if we didn't have these American makers making this product.
Right.
That blue cheese salami is made with this incredible blue cheese from Sweetgrass Dairy. Mm-hmm. And just an amazing story, how they came to pass to be one of the most prominent cheesemakers in the United States in a small little tiny town in South Georgia, Thomasville, and just do an incredible job. But again, the idea is putting these things on the board. So I would say one of those. So like we do a smoked beefsteak salami with Mama Lil's and sun-dried tomato. And then one of my favorites, and still is to this day, is a Calabrian salami that we make.
Okay.
But then you say, well, Calabrese, Calabrian. I'm like, nah, dude, that's not what we're talking about. So we take caper berries, whole capers, and we soak them in dry vermouth, and then we dehydrate them. And that gets folded in with organic garlic, lots of Calabrian chili.
Wow.
And dude, you smell it and you're like, dude,
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. But I would make sure you do a spicy, like a hot one.
Okay.
People love hot. It's so good for your body too, to have those heated ingredients. It helps your metabolism. It's just really fun to eat. And then it pairs lovely with the cheese. So you get a beautiful creamy, triple cream, something that's going to meld really well. Partnering and pairing, you either want, flavor profiles that are contrast, and marry, because your taste buds are looking for those things to basically make that perfect bite. Mm-hmm. You've got a little bit of sweetness, and I learned that at the French Laundry, is you try to put every bite in your mouth something that entertained all 5 taste zones, right? You want all of those places to be in your mouth to be excited and kind of moving. And when you think about our salami, we want everything to be uniquely different, and all try to achieve balance in when you put it in your mouth.
Okay.
We've got a lamb and beef sujuk. It's got toasted cumin and sumac in it. That came about from a guy that worked for us. He brought it to the table and was like, we should try this. I was like, let's, because they make sujuk. It's an Armenian salami, and it's usually a fresh sausage, but we incorporated it and made it our own. And sumac grows everywhere around the state of Georgia.
Right.
So it's like, how can we inherently do something that's different and unique? It's got this beautiful sour to it. We make a cecina. It's basically Spain's redheaded stepchild of Brizola.
Okay.
So it's made almost the same way we do a Spanish brine. It's got Spanish sherry, black, white, green peppercorn, and Spanish white onion. And then we take that and smoke the living shit out of it on pecan wood. And so it's just this wonderful, sweet, nuanced flavor of smoke. People are like, why don't you use hickory or mesquite? And I'm like, because we're not making barbecue.
Right.
We want to add to the flavor. We don't want to cannibalize it. Okay. So we want to add stuff that's going to just be a really impactful flavor profile. There are lots of unique things. I think talk about charcuterie is like barbecue in the South. You don't go and say, well, that's Kansas City barbecue. Let me taste that.
Right.
Well, if you're from Eastern North Carolina, that ain't how you eat barbecue.
Right.
So you think about charcuterie, there is probably a version of Genoa for Spain. There's a version for Genoa for China. So you look at, they call it the superb one in Italy, and it's called Genoa. But in Spain, it'd be salchichon. Very limited amount of ingredients. You're focusing on the flavor and nuance of the pork. But if I'm putting stuff on a charcuterie board, I want all of those creative things to stand out that are going to tell the story. So try to have things that have really and pair well with the cheese. And if you're having wine, it's good to know what kind of wine. Is it you drinking rosé out on the patio? You want something a little lighter? I would say like Lomo or some type of prosciutto that's going to hold well with the cheeses you put down, and maybe some Alpine style cheeses. To me, that's what I would do.
Okay. Well, also beyond charcuterie, there are other meats that you can order. I mean, if you look at the website, turkeys, beef, Cornish game hen. So what are some of the other things beyond charcuterie that people can order for the holidays?
Yeah, so we've got a laundry list of beautiful sausages. I've got a recipe book, like I said, of over 250 different recipes. And my team, because of our space and the constraints that we have with our team, you could only make so much. So we try to seasonally roll those in. We make a beautiful blood sausage, getting in time. We are entertaining the possibility of being the first culatello and American-made culatello in the United States. The culatello is the prize of the prosciutto. It's basically the butt muscle that's wrapped in a pork bladder. But when we think about the unique things that we have to offer, I would say our beef is some of the best. We do this really fun thing that you can get for the holidays. It's a blue cheese wrapped ribeye.
Wow.
We take the entire ribeye and we wrap it in cheesecloth, and then we rub blue cheese buttercream all over it.
Oh my God.
And it cures for about anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. And dude, do you want to talk about a good steak?
Yeah.
That thing will slap you in the head.
Whoa.
It's so delicious.
I think I know what I might order for our next group guys dinner. Oh my Lord.
But we try to do fun things, try to have nothing but the finest livestock that we can. We've got a fantastic team. Our team is the best, cut above anything. They do a fantastic job, and really try to keep the esoteric nature of who we are and what we do, but keeping it simple, right? Really focusing on the quality of ingredients. That's the most important thing. So we try to use the best stuff that we can.
If you were not making charcuterie, what would you be doing?
Wow.
What do you enjoy doing outside of charcuterie?
That's a tough one. I love mountain biking.
Okay.
Do a ton of mountain biking. I love the outdoors. Love spending time with my kids.
You're going camping?
I'm about 2 hours away from taking a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old up camping.
Good luck with that.
Thank you. I'm on a 6-day of a 10-day fast. So my level of patience is diminishing, but we'll see. Insult to injury. But I love, I'm probably looking around, doing something in real estate of some sort, form or fashion. I've always loved design, the aesthetics of design, and thinking about how to put things together to make an end result. That would be something fun for me.
I ask this question of every guest: if you could retire anywhere in the South, where would it be, and why?
Wow, that's a tough one. In the South, I have been visiting Charleston more, and that area of the country is very exciting to me. I think there's a lot of cool things up in the Highlands. Cashers typically is a good place to be. I love the mountains. I would say I would probably start there and work my way work my way around.
Well, you don't have to be sedentary in retirement, right? You can always bump around.
Yeah, and I love Nashville. Up in that part of that neck of the woods is fantastic. If you're in the SEC, our definition of Southern has been growing. So
it has.
Now Texas
We're expanding. Yeah, Texas is now Southern. Did you know?
Even Oklahoma.
Even Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am an LSU grad.
Oh, good Lord.
Good Lord, yeah. But it's okay. We can all get along. My wife is a huge Georgia fan. I mean, you want to talk about house divided. I'm Saints,
Yes.
she's Falcons.
Yep.
It's a whole thing.
We'll probably see you in the Sugar Bowl.
Both teams are looking pretty strong this year.
They're looking pretty good.
So I'm going to move it to the gift portion of the show. Any guest on the Retire Southern podcast gets to pick the Ferrari of trucker hats. So you are quite a character. You're a Southern character. Each one of these hats has a different persona. So the navy and khaki at the far end there, I call that one the classic. That one kind of brings up, an old-fashioned kind of the person who likes the old-fashioned. The blue and white, I call that the coastal. That's for the person. The angler who likes to spend time at the beach. The green and black, I call that one the campfire. That's more for the outdoorsman, the camper. So anyway, you don't have to pick that one because I said camping and campfire. Sure. But what are you feeling? What's your vibe?
I would probably go with the campfire.
You would go with the campfire.
Yep. And for that very reason, but I would wear it on those jaunts.
Well, that's yours.
Thank you, brother.
That is yours.
I appreciate it.
What did we not talk about today that you wanted to touch on?
James, when I am able to have a platform, it's really important to tell the public. We all need to start raising our eyebrow a little bit. Our food system has literally been chopped to pieces over the last 120 years. We are eating things that we're not looking at the labels. We are consuming foods that we shouldn't be and that our body's not able to digest. And I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't take much to go to the beach and look around. We're all overweight. We've all got diseases like cancer, and it's just getting worse. Our population and civilization is in the midst of decline. We are now the first generation in human history that's devolving. And what I mean by that is that we are fighting amongst each other. We're eating the wrong foods, and there's a principle that we need to be looking at. And that's the way that we're buying and what we're consuming, what we're providing to our elderly, what we're providing to our school children. This needs to change. And we're not doing enough, right? Mm-hmm. If you look around, it was June 20th, 1906, the FDA was started, okay? And we now have over almost 120 years where our population is being decimated by these diseases. Previous to this, those diseases didn't even occur. If they did, it was in very small pockets. And now we're living in a civilization where we're just closing our eyes to it. The American population and humanity needs to wake up. And I'm telling them that as serious as I can be and using this platform, people need to stop consuming foods that are doing them harm. And I'm not saying that because I'm some crazy health nut. I just want people to be eating things that are going to give them nutrients, not drag their body down. Mm-hmm. And it's horrific looking at what's happening. People are just doing it blindly because the FDA is allowing it to happen. We got to be better. We're smarter than this. And I would say to use a platform to send that message across the bow, please, as a father, as a type 1 diabetic, and as someone who has a mother dying of cancer, this message needs to be heard and take action. Take action by not buying these products at the grocery store, by consumers having the biggest voice in all by not doing it. And I appreciate you letting me, cast that web.
Yeah, man. No, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you sharing how you feel. And it's a very real thing.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for
Absolutely.
Sharing that. So Kevin.
Yep.
Thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your journey. From corporate offices to curing rooms, you've proven that with passion and balance, even though we're not always in balance because we're not moving forward, you can craft not just world-class charcuterie, but a legacy of Southern food done right. And thank you all for listening to Retire Southern. You can find this episode and more on our website, retiresouthern.com. Follow us on social media at Retire Southern and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, remember, don't wait for retirement to start living. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a walk over to your deli case and back up the truck on the blue cheese salami.
There it is. Eat good meat. Stay hungry.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.